All right. Okay, so before we talked about graphing on Desmos, which is pretty easy. You just type your equation in and it pops out a bunch of, the important points for you with those gray dots. But that's not always going to be an option. So it's important to know how to graph it by hand also. In a parabola, which is, the shape that we get, it's roughly something like this. We have some important points, just like we did when we were graphing linear equations. We have, of course, the x-intercepts, which is what we get when we solve the quadratic equation. Okay, so that's where, our graph is crossing that x-axis. We have our y-intercept, where it's crossing the y-axis, and then we have the point where our slope changes from negative to positive, and that's called our vertex, okay? The x-intercepts are pretty easy to find. You just solve the equation using either factoring or the quadratic formula, opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. The y-intercepts, just like any y-intercept on any graph, you put in you put in 0 for x and see what you get for y. The vertex is the tricky one, and that's arguably the most important point, because if you say, well, I have a point here, and then my y-intercept is here, and then I have another point there, if you're trying to draw your parabola evenly, you might get something a bit like this, but if you're just connecting the lines, then you get this, and that's not the right shape. So it's really important to find that vertex. Again, the vertex is that changing point. And to find the vertex, we have another little formula, and it is the opposite. It gives you the x-coordinate. So the x-coordinate, to find the x-coordinate, you have the opposite of b over 2a. So it's that first little part of that quadratic formula, right? We use the discriminant to let us know if it's going to be getting up to the x-axis, and then the rest of us tells us about where. But here, this very first part is giving us our vertex. So here we have y equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 4. And again, our a is our coefficient on x squared, b is the coefficient on x, and c is our constant. So our opposite of b, our b here is negative 3, so the opposite of b there is going to be 3 over 2a, 2 times a, so that's going to be 4, so it's 3/4. So our x value for the coordinate is 3/4, so we would put 3/4 in for x, and then go ahead and solve it for y. So we'd get 2 times 3/4 squared. Well, 3/4 squared is 9/16, so 2 times 9/16 is going to be 18/16. So we've got 1 1/8 minus 3 times 3/4, so minus 9/4 plus 4. So 1 1/8 minus 9/4, let's make that 18/8. Let's make this 9/8. So we have negative 9/8 plus 4 gives us 3 1/8, I believe. Okay, so that's going to be where our vertex is. Okay, so that's about, so x is here, 1, 2, 3, about there, somewhere like that. Okay, so that's our vertex. We also have our y-intercept, which is just x is 0, like it always is. And so in this case, when we put 0 in for all of these things, we get 4, which is pretty close to that vertex. And then from here, you want to plot 2 more points, 2 points above this, so we could do 1 and 2, and then 2 points below this, so -1 and 0 works fine there. And so again, here you're just going to be plugging these things in and seeing what you get out. So 2 times 1 squared is 2, minus 3 is -1, plus 4 is 3, so 1, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so 2 times 1 squared is 2 minus 3 plus 4. That's what it is. Alright, so I'm getting a 3 here. So the two options can be that this calculation is wrong or that this calculation is wrong. So I've already checked my 1, so let's go back and check my vertex. Alright, so let's go ahead and pull up our calculator, just to be sure. Making it smaller so it's not super obnoxious. Alright, so 2 times, in a parenthesis, I could put 3/4 in a parenthesis, I'm just going to use 0.75, squared minus 3 times 0.75 plus 4. Okay, so we got 2.875, which is 2 7/8, I believe. Okay, so it was that calculation that was wrong, which puts us here, and then 1 is here, which makes sense because it's really not that far away. Okay, so now we do number 2. We get 8 minus 6 plus 4, we get 6. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then -1. So that gives us 1, that's 2, plus 3, plus 4, and that gives us 7, 9. -1 all the way up here is 9, and we get very skinny parabola. Okay? So yeah, if your points aren't looking right, check the 2 of them that disagree. But again, get rid of this line in general. The points that you really want to make sure that you find are your vertex here, your y-intercept where you put your x, your 0 in for x, 2 points higher than your vertex, so plus, 2 points higher, and then your y-intercept can count for one of those, and 2 points lower, which here we used our y-intercept as 1. And again, this is your equation to find the x-coordinate of your of your vertex. Okay? There you go.